that may be, yeah. But that means there's not a lot of water up in the mountains needing to be drained, right? It's all coming from the mountains.
Yeah.
So, I just like to see those rivers kind of active. And so I was not happy to see them drying.
Yeah, that's kind of a strange thing that how much we do have lots of rain here, and then when it start to have no rain, we start to want some. Kind of weird, really.
Well, 3D is just unstable. It's just 3D. It's the nature of this dimension that polarity is accentuated, and so you're either, generally one's either hungry or stuffed, or wanting something, or finished wanting something, not yet ready to want something again. And so we want, we want to be able to travel around, so we don't want too much rain. But when there's too much not rain, we want more rain, of course. But it's just the nature of this dimension and the mind. The veiled 3D mind is a very unhappy place.
Yeah, it takes effort to be able to be well with contradicting desire.
Yes, yeah.
Like I want money, but I have to go outside to work.
Yeah,
this kind of thing.
Well, there's that's not exactly a contradicting desire. It's, well, you say I want money, and I don't want to work. In a certain level, those are just two desires that can't be fulfilled simultaneously.
Yeah.
It's not that I want money and I don't want money. That's a contradiction. These are just two that are unworkable.
Yeah, the contradiction is because I want money requires spending time doing stuff, and I don't want to go outside to work. It's because I don't want to spend time in doing things that sometimes are not always nice. So it's a question of investing time, and one brings something and the other brings also something. It's just not appreciated the same way. But yeah, it feels contradicting because I would like to stay here, to stay home. And then when I have plenty of time staying home, I would like to have an activity outside. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the contradictory. Is like, I like to stay home, but I'm sick of staying home. And that's the sense that there is no final happiness in attachment to conditions. Attachment to conditions or desire for conditions is dukkha, and leads to dukkha. And the dukkha is, okay, I want to stay here. And I stay and I stay and I stay. And eventually I feel, I don't want to stay here. And then I go out. And eventually, after a while, I'm out. I think, I don't want to stay out. I want to go in, back again. And so it's it's just the natural dissatisfaction that creeps into the mind. It's basically, I think, the disintegration of sukha, of satisfaction. That all experiences are conditioned and therefore pass away. And so the condition of happiness that's associated with any one condition, configuration of life, is also impermanent. So the happiness of staying alone or staying at home passes away. The happiness of going out passes away. and so then the best life is some kind of balance where we can do some of both, but not too much.
Yeah.
And be able to go and come and go freely. When the sukha is going into dukkha, I change to the opposite condition where the sukha goes back up again.
Yeah, it is. It's yeah. I kind of see that more and more. It feels like the balance is to accept that I want something, and that I will not want that thing as much in few hours, maybe, and that in few hours I will like something else, and that's okay. And then I will want to go back to that thing, and that's okay. And because I think and that's kind of paradoxal, because it's like the mind has multiple desires that change over time. So you want something and then want something else and then want something else. And yet in wanting something, there is the belief within the mind that this will be forever. There is some kind of very unconscious desire that I want this forever now.
That's actually a very important insight. And the guy Lal Ariadna, on the puredharma.net talked about that, or we looked into that in passing. That, but he didn't sort of explain it too fully. I believe what you're saying is that when we have a desire to seek a changed condition, meaning an acquisition or an elimination, I get it, I've acquired it, I eliminate it, I get rid of it, or I've moved, or something's changed. The mind really doesn't think that I'm only going to enjoy it for a short amount of time. And we're not thinking, I want to get that so I can enjoy it for a short amount of time and then not like it anymore. The mind doesn't say, I want to get that so I can be happy, and then it'll fall away and I'll be unhappy there, and then I'll go find something else. That's what I want. The mind is not thinking that far. It's just thinking, I like it, I don't like this, I want that, ooh, and that's it. And yet, yes, there is this deep, not knowing, the mind not deeply knowing impermanence equals the mind continually, unconsciously, mistakenly, preconsciously assuming the continuance of satisfaction with achievement of desire.
Well, it's like seeking infinity. In a way, it's because God is infinity. So it's kind of strange that unconsciously the mind is seeking something infinite that has no end, and yet doesn't understand, doesn't perceive the impermanence.
Yeah, that's actually a very important point. I mean, what is the basis of human life? It's seeking God, whether we know it or not. It's seeking infinity, seeking bliss, seeking completion, seeking enlightenment, seeking the end of suffering. That's exactly what everybody's seeking, yes. But very few people know it. Because they're seeking down and out. They're seeking downward and outward, or in terms of the material world and the external environment, the external material world, rather than the internal mental, spiritual, inner transformation of perspective. Then the whole universe has changed. But yes, you can say that the mind naively or innocently assuming continuance of happiness in all of our desirings, and the successful desirings, is seeking the boundless just by that, or seeking God, or seeking complete and perfect enlightenment, is seeking a completed fulfillment, and I think that's what's bitter, is that the mind really is sad, or there really is a continual dukkha at the inevitable anicca, or impermanence, of the happiness that comes with desire. It's not even the thing. It's the degeneration of the mental state of happiness and satisfaction that leads to some bitterness and fresh, renewed seeking, renewed desire. But yes, you can say that the mind is seeking an endless happiness, or a happiness that never ends, and that's akin to infinity, or God, or nirvana, in just the nature of desire. regardless of whether it's pointed down and out or up and in. So that is, the engine of evolution is desire. And whether, the problem is that only people who have a spiritual perspective have any chance of understanding that the true, deeper, unending happiness that they're really seeking can't be found in the external material world. And that's the point, is that down and out is a bad way to go. Lower chakras, external dependence on conditions, or outer physical seeking, including relationship. If you're just seeking a perfect partner, you won't find it. But if you're seeking your own awakening, a perfect partner may appear, because that'll be a partner who's also on the path. Hey. And but yeah, I think the mind is basically the ignorance of impermanence associated with our desiring is definitely related to a deeper level, an essential level of what it is we're seeking, being endless, boundless, infinite, Godhead, finished, completed satisfaction that never ends. But we never find it until you're finished with the path. But the happiness of higher states lasts longer, just like the condition of hell in the deeper hells lasts longer. So, but yeah, that's the case for everybody. What you're talking about, or what I'm talking about, I think it's not just for people who have looked at the mind and its process, but everybody's mind has the same thing. It's just a matter of how bright, how dark, how sharp, how dull, how fast, how slow, how much they know, how little, and their own personality configuration.
Well, what I was finding paradoxical is how is it that the mind seeks infinity, even though it believes in material things. So there's understanding that things will fall apart, yet at the same time doesn't see impermanence.
Well, I don't see a contradiction there. The contradiction is that there are levels of motivation, and there's the conscious motivation, and then there's the unconscious or unrecognized motivation, or levels of motivation. And so within the unrecognized levels of motivation, or the levels of motivation that are unrecognized, is the heart of the desire for happiness, which is the happiness that never ends, which could be called infinite or boundless. And just people have not really shed light upon that level of their own motivation. If you say, I want to get some money, they say, why? So I can buy stuff. Why? So I'll be happy. How long will you be happy? I don't know. But do you want to not be happy? No. I want to stay happy. Well, if you buy those things, will you stay happy forever? I don't know. Well, at that point, they usually say, fuck you, and walk away. But otherwise, they might say, no, this is Socratic dialogue. No, I won't stay happy for that so long, but that's okay. I have more money. I'll get more money. I'll have more stuff, and I'll be happy again. And if you know that, go away. Okay? And then the questioner may say, well, do you want a happiness that ends, or do you want a happiness that never ends? Of course he wants a happiness that never ends. But at that point, you have the hard sell of religion, which is, well, if you'd like a happiness that never ends, or a happiness that lasts longer, you've got to focus in on mind training and self-transformation, and morality, and meditation, and the ways of transforming yourself and your consciousness, so that what you find will lead to a longer lasting happiness.
So what I'm perceiving, I don't. It's like I'm just perceiving that there are different level of happiness that a person may seek. Like a person may seek happiness through material things, and yet in this world, more and more people are developing some sort of understanding that happiness may be also something shared with another. So what they would call love, which
Right.
is seeking somebody, and they're trying to find this infinity through a bond that is created with someone else, and the creation of a family, and
Right.
that's transcending the material aspect in some way. It's kind of an intermediary before the spiritual happiness.
Yeah, you can say that. That's you can absolutely say that interpersonal seeking or seeking partnership intimacy. We're really talking about deep union partnership relationship. That is absolutely intermediary between seeking material acquisition, material accumulation of things, money and goods, and even social seeking of power, prestige as material gains. Between that level, which is the lowest, actually, which is basically seeking sensation, to between that and seeking, the happiness of transformed consciousness, which is purely spiritual, internal, and even above the mind. So, yes, and that's the heart chakra is in between the root and the crown, 147. And those are considered. Ra had said something like the basic chakras. There is a term in the raw material where they talk about basic chakra, not just base chakra. And I think they seem to be. I don't know if I can find it or if that's exactly correct, but there was some idea that the 147 are basic chakras, and I think that there is some truth there. That there's something special about 13, about the 246 line and the 1357 line. Yeah, that's a particular resonance, and there's something special about 135 as what Ra called primary chakra is necessary for harvest, for development. There's also something special about 147 as the nodal points of the seven, the structure, the underpinning. And that's associated, and you can say that that's mirrored by the triad of the levels of desire or levels of motivation being material base, interpersonal love, but particularly partnership, spiritual partnership, love partnership, 4, and then purely spiritual self-transformation, 7.
So the intermediary, you wouldn't say mind. You wouldn't say like body, mind, and spirit in that
Well,
order.
you could say that. The thing about mind is that mind is green-blue. But the true mind is green-blue. If you look at the chakras in terms of the 7 divided into 3 parts, you have the lower triad below the diaphragm, 1, 2, 3, body. You have the second above the diaphragm, 4, 5, the green-blue center, as Ross said, which is mind. And then you have 6, 7, spirit. And so all that's associated with 4, 5 is mid-level seeking. All that's associated with 1, 2, 3 is lowest level seeking. All that's associated with 6, 7 is highest level seeking. You can say it that way. So that it's not only seeking love partnership, but also seeking mind transformation, which is really like seeking wisdom, independent of multidimensional consciousness expansion, which is 7 or 6, 7.
So there's
They're normally not. Normally people who are developing 4, 5 go into 6, 7, but 4, 5 without 6, 7 could be considered development of love, either alone, where I love God and I'm a solitary monk and nun, or I love a partner, or development of mind, not purely um, intellectual, but also philosophical, like the Greek philosophers. Right, some of those guys were very well developed, even if they were not doing meditation; they were just doing contemplation. That's a mid-level desire, green blue, and then the highest is 6-7.
So, in a society that develop things like science, it is it's a social, let's say, a social consciousness, willingness to develop 4-5, for example, and religion and philosophy will be also 4-5-6, something like that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, technology is interesting because I used to think about all the people in IT in the 80s and 90s. I think, are they all wanderers? And I used to because there is a pretty strong mental development necessary to be coding software, and I couldn't do it. And so I wondered, are they all wanderers? Now I'm sure they're not, although some of them are. I wouldn't say they all are, although some are, because there is a high development of non-spiritual intellect that's possible. The one can be brilliant. One can have a very highly developed mind that really has blocked wisdom and love, and that's third chakra activation. And so the technological development, or when a society is highly technologically developed, to me, it represents a higher development of third chakra, and that's what we see. We're at the end. We're in the planetary cycle associated with 3.7, related to third chakra seventh subplane, related to basically the highest expression of third chakra, which relates to the highest development of the worldly intellect, because 1, 3, 5, 7 or 3, 5 are resonant, and third chakra is not just relations with the group and relations with other, but the mental development. The first three chakras can also be understood as physical, emotional, mental. Earth, water, fire. Water clearly associated with emotionalism, second chakra. Fire, not so easily understood or normally understood, but with mind or intellect, but not a spiritualized intellect, where fourth chakra is associated with the element air. And there you get into the spiritualization of mind, and that's because 4, taps into 6. And so I think a lot of people, the technological society is drawing on third chakra, its polarization metaphysically, positive or negative, or lack of polarization or confusion. What you really have today is a confusion about polarity and values, and some development of green-blue, both. So technology or intellect used in the service of, benefit to all, and warfare and control, both. And thanks again, Jerry. Take good care, and good night.